Can alternative cattle feeding methods improve school attendance in the Adamawa region of Cameroon? A documentary by Waji Elis Banmia.
It is a cold morning in the Adamawa region of Cameroon. Many kids have resumed classes for the 2022-2023 school year. In a small village called Libong, situated 80 kilometers from the region's chief town Gaoundéré, pupils and students are part of the back-to-school train. At the government primary school Libong, we move into one of the classes where lessons are taught. Unlike other schools, pupils are dressed in assorted attires, some stitched, some threadbare. 3/4 of the classroom is littered with polythene bags, but these plastics serve a noble purpose. They serve as storage for exercise books, pens and other school items for those who could afford them. Despite their precarious situation, the learners enjoy their teachers' lessons. Not every child is privileged to attend school in Libong village. Opposite the school's uncompleted fence, a group of children idle in discussions while their peers are in class. As we approach them, they start whispering to each other and gazing fearfully. With a smile, we engage in discussions as people meeting for the first time will do. Moments later, one of the children, whom we named Hamadu to conceal his identity, confesses in the local Fulfulde language that he dropped out of school 2 years ago because his parents want him to cater for domestic animals.
I
no longer go to school like others because my father believes education is not as important as livestock farming. My parents live in Gaoundéré, so 2 years ago, I was taken out of school and sent here to live with my uncle in Libong. My father says living in this village and learning more about the techniques of rearing animals can help me be a real man in the future. So, what I do every day is to ensure I guide the animals where there is enough pasture, make sure I always know where exactly they are, and be sure nothing happens to them, all under the guidance of my uncle and other elder ones.
Hamadu's confidence grows in the course of our discussion.
I did not feel comfortable about this situation. When my father told me I was joining my uncle in Libong, I was initially very happy and excited. But right now, I feel very sad. When I get up each morning and I see other children going to school, I wish to be in their shoes. That is why when my animals are not far, I prefer to sit beside the school, at least to get a little feeling of being in class, as was the case in Gaoundéré 2 years ago. This is all I can do. I have no choice.
Hamadu is just one of hundreds of boys of school-going age, often forced out of school to head cattle and other animals in the Adamawa region of Cameroon. The phenomenon multiplies during the dry season, the peak of cattle grazing in rural settings like Libong. In the Adamawa, about 80% of the population breeds cattle for a living, and Libong is cited as among the highest cattle breeders. Unfortunately, the village has a huge price to pay, sacrificing the education of its boys. The head teacher of government primary school Libong, Jida Hamajuldi, and the English teacher, Nganjo Nadej, both confirm that each year during the dry season, the school population drops drastically as boys are forced into transhumance, which is the act of searching for better grazing land.
La transhumance a un impact sur nos effectifs.
Transhumance has a serious impact on our education system. It leads to school dropout, especially during the months of November, December, and January. Many children follow their parents into the forest in search of pasture for animals. They often do this even without taking permission from the school. So at times we are forced to be tolerant of some who come back a few days after. We are forced to encourage them to stay in classes.
Qui ne quitte pas les classes.
Most of the children, they don't come to school. They are not conscious of school. Like even their parents are not conscious to send them to school often. They don't come to school. Some will tell you that I don't come to school on Mondays, for instance. You ask him why, you say because I go and take care of my father's cattle in the bush. So those are some type of challenges I have here. French is like a second language to them. And when I come in with English language, it becomes a very challenging moment.
Garga Libona is another village where cattle breeding is greatly practiced at the expense of child education. The locality is situated about 130 kilometers from the region's chief town Gaoundéré. On our way there, the interpreter and I marveled at the magnificent scenery. We come across groups of excited herdsmen in the company of their children. They are shepherding herds of cattle to an unknown destination. In Garga Libona, 65-year-old Amadou Lamino tells us livestock breeding is the backbone of their community.
The very first inhabitants of this village were cattle farmers. Agropastoral farming is what we know how to do best, and we hold on tight to this practice. Many parents in this village succeeded in building houses, getting married, and developing this area thanks to cattle breeding. I am a proud man because I have livestock that I will leave behind for my children.
While we are guided towards the village square, we stumble on a 13-year-old whom we name Hamza. Still a teenager, Hamza is already being celebrated as an expert in cattle rearing.
I feel lucky to be running behind cows. I learned how to speak with my cows thanks to the training from my fathers and grandfathers. I never wish to be left behind where my dad goes far into the bush with the animals. I always follow him, and my best moment is when I drink milk directly extracted from the cows, and when I take care of calves. I just love spending time with the animals. My dad said it's important to be with the animals.
Unlike most cases, Hamza's parents never forced him into the trade. He believes becoming a cattle breeder is the best thing that can happen to any individual.
My father did not force me to do all this. He always tells me the cow is the best gift any parent can offer his child. Right now, I have 4 cows that officially belong to me. I feel I'm on top of the world. They give me unconditional joy. I think, as my father said, the cow represents everything in the world.
Contrary to Hamza, hundreds of children in Garga Libona have bigger dreams, which they say can be achieved only through quality education. Unfortunately for some like Sule, who was wearing his school uniform at the time of our interview, their dream might never come true.
I'm still about to continue my education because the animals of my father still have much to eat around. It is the same thing each year and I'm tired. When school starts, since it is usually the rainy seasons, I join my mates in class. During the months of November and December, when the dry season appears, the grass becomes dry. I'm forced to move with my family in search of pasture. I dream of becoming a journalist just like you. I don't know if it will be possible, but I pray things to get better.
In the Adamawa, children whose education has been compromised by cattle breeding have a common daily lifestyle in the bushes.
Each time we go far from home in search of pasture, we carry along the necessary tools and very limited dresses. We have a horse or a donkey that carries some stuff while we use some traditional sticks to direct the animals. When we are in the bush, our parents tell us the animals are of top priority, that we must do everything to ensure their well-being because they represent our future. So, we direct them to where they can get water and green vegetation along the journey.
Parents claim they are left with no choice other than withdrawing their kids when pasture runs short during the dry season. Poverty is also among their justifications.
People need to first understand that we depend on cattle as a source of food, income, and improved livelihoods. Things are very difficult and we need to be very strong to survive. Climate change is impacting the production of feed, forage, and the availability of grazing land and water. With all these, you tell me about education? My children must support me in preserving and guiding these animals which represent the future.
Umaru Ardo is proud to have been trained as a cattle rearer by his parents. He claims it is a tradition handed down by successive generations, which must not be traded for anything as cheap as education.
When I was younger, my parents introduced me to cattle farming. This is the only thing I know how to do in life. I have 4 wives today and 15 children. There is no way any of my children will grow without mastering pastoralism. It is a family thing and we must uphold it. They must learn all about the activity and how the business functions. It is most important.
My husband is very correct. Cattle breeding is an extremely necessary activity. It is thanks to the cattle we keep that I and my co-wives are in good health today. During festive period, we can have good loins and stylish dishes because of the sale of cattle. My husband is successful and much respected in our village. I wish the same for our children. With cattle breeding, it is possible.